Good morning, everybody. Betting for breakfast, powered by the Sharp app. Early Super Bowl bets. We're going to dig into what bets we have in the account today already for the Super Bowl. Everybody can't wait for this game. Joe Burrow against Matthew Stafford, really against Aaron Donald, right? That's the storyline everybody's talking about. But I do have some early bets in the account for some props already. Do not have anything on the side. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to bring on Dave in a little bit, and we're going to be able to go over just kind of like what we expect to see from both teams in this matchup in regards to the game, what advantages each team has. I know a lot has been spoken about Aaron Donald and the Rams defense against that Bengals offensive line. So we're going to get into all that as well. So today's just going to be a nice, easy episode about what we already have in the account. If you're listening, drop your best bets in the comments. Lexi will put them up on the screen right here, and we'll talk about what you got cooking already for the Super Bowl. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a tremendous amount of props and novelty props, plenty of ways that, A, have fun, B, get an edge, right? More bets on the table, more ways to find an edge against the books. But first things first, before we get started, guys, I want to talk about the Sharp app real quick. Tremendous app. We got some new updates in for the Super Bowl just in time. You can get all the props there. You can track all your bets. They have a million props out there. So you can go on there, go in the game, track your bets, even track your prop betting on the Sharp app. And listen, the one way to get sharp for football season is to download the app first, then go to the description right here on this YouTube channel below. Hit the link to join the Discord, be a part of the community, right? The free Discord, you can hop in there. You can, sweat the games with everybody, and it's a lot of fun. It's a tremendous time in there in the Discord. So get in there this week, prepare for the Super Bowl. You can see what everybody's playing and whatnot in the Discord, the free Discord, be a part of the community. And then also, you can be a part of our Sharp Bets program, right? You can get all our handicapping models, all our professional handicappers picks. That link is in there as well. You can get a free 30 days. MDRUM is the promo code below. So make sure you do that. Be a part of the team. Come hang out with us for football season. We got everybody hanging out in the chat. People jumping in. John, I know John's excited about the Bengals. I'm excited too, man. I can't wait. What a week is the best way to explain it. I mean, this team being 4-11 last year, making this kind of jump. Joe Burrow goes into Arrowhead. I personally was not a believer. I was small play on the Chiefs, big play on the over. Neither of them hit, but very, very surprising to see the Bengals there. And it's a team that I'm having trouble betting against. Like when you look at this game on paper, there are definitely some advantages for the Rams, but we're going to get into it when I bring Dave on here in a little bit and just talk about specifically offense, defense, where these teams can win on each side of the ball. Adam, my man, Adam Cease checking in. We appreciate you, buddy. Should you take the point spread where it is now or wait a couple days for the Super Bowl? I think we could still see a little bit of movement as the week progresses. Right now, it's been around 4.5 in that spot. It depends on which side you like. If you like the Rams, you might want to take it now. I think we're going to see some more Rams money come in as the week progresses. But if you like the Bengals, probably wait a little bit. You know what I mean? Like if you get there's really, not much of a difference. You're not going to get beat. It's not like you're going to lose to 3 with the Bengals. Money's not going to come in. So you're going to get Bengals plus over the key number and, money line as well. The money line prices are going to fluctuate depending on your book. So make sure that you shop around in regards to that. The more exposure these books have on a specific team in the futures market, you're going to see them compress or open up those money line prices. So it's not, just what they have going on for this game. It's what liability they have in the futures market with these two teams as well. So definitely something to keep an eye on. We got Jason checking in, man. He likes player props, OBJ and Cup anytime touchdown. Yeah, we're going to get into that, right? So the Rams offense should get points on the board in this game. There is no doubt about that. And it's fascinating to me how the Bengals play defense, because a lot has been talked about the middle of the field and how they struggle covering the middle of the field. Which receivers can take advantage of that? So I do have a Rams wide receiver prop I'm going to talk about. Once we bring Dave on, me and Dave are going to cut it up. We're going to talk about which bets we have in the accounts. But the Rams offense is definitely going to put up some numbers. I think both offenses in this matchup are going to put up numbers, to be honest with you. I don't think that, the Rams defense is going to be able to neutralize the Bengals the way we expected them, right? So, a lot of people out there saying, hey, this defensive line is just going to wreak havoc on the Bengals. The Bengals have been dealing with their offensive line the entire season, right? Zach Taylor knows that their offensive line struggles. Now he has 2 weeks to put together a game plan, right? Not sure if that's enough to necessarily push me to the Bengals. Haven't had a bet on the side, but I'm not a believer that Joe Burrow is going to get shut out in this one, and that offensive line is just going to, ruin the game for them, and that offense is not going to be able to put up points. Joe Burrow is going to put up points in this football game. I strongly believe that. Whether it's enough to keep pace with the Rams' high-powered offense, that part I'm not sure of, right? Because the defense, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, definitely going to have an impact in this game as well. So those are the things that we're kind of looking at. How the 2 weeks is going to affect each team, their preparation, right? We have another coaching contest with these two coaches to where they're very familiar with each other, right? Zach Taylor going under the Sean McVay tree, coaching tree. Sean McVay knows Zach Taylor as well as anybody else, right? How is that going to impact the game? How is that going to impact the game script? So if you guys have best bets, let me hear your prop bets. Put them in the comments. Lexi will get them up here, and we'll hit it. I see Jason talking about the spread moving up 4.5 or better for the Bengals. I'm not going to argue with that. I think if the Bengals are your side, give it a couple days. Give it the midweek. Let the books start raising the limits so people can get down more money and see what really how that line moves. Because if it goes up to like 5, more than 5, Bengals looking very appealing in that spot. I can definitely guarantee. Lexi, are we all set with Dave? Is Dave ready to go here? Perfect. Let's bring him on. Let's bring Dave on. Let's get into the game right now. Bengals and the Rams. There he is, my man. How we making out?
You know how I'm making out. I hit those Bengals last week, and I told you I thought they could win the game outright. I didn't go as far to say that with John Trey, but I mean that was the strength in the pick. I remember Drums. I was on that with Adam Rosenberg later that day. I felt like I was a lone wolf. I was the only one calling Bengals. Everybody else Chiefs. And you know what? I felt better coming out. Now, don't get me wrong. Down 21-3, I didn't feel that good near half. But let's take the key point of that game. The key point of that game was right at halftime, right? It was an Andy Reid classic, but I think it was more on Mahomes. It was Mahomes. Throwing that ball in the boundary. It was just – that's the turning point in the game. We knew the Bengals were getting the ball at half and could change the game a little bit. And it was huge. It was a huge error, huge mistake. One you don't expect from a team that had been to 2 straight Super Bowls. And it left the door open. Hungry dogs eat. Yep. They came right through.
That's right. 4 straight AFC championships. And here's the thing, right? So Mahomes waves Reid off. Reid wanted to kick the field goal. Mahomes, and not only the decision to go for it, okay, if you want to do that, that's fine. But the decision Mahomes made to throw the ball to Tyreek Hill, completely inexcusable. And I think that, one of the things that I talked about after the Super Bowl when they lost to Tampa Bay was, wow, like this is really going to humble the Chiefs a little bit. They're going to come back hungry. And I feel like this year we still kind of saw the same sloppy Chiefs, like during the season, like very sloppy, very, cocky, like that play to Tyreek Hill at the boundary is just cocky. Like no other team makes that. Like that's unnecessary. And, I want to see how they learn from this. How, is Reid able to get them to tighten things up as an offense so they don't let this happen? Because, I was very happy with my bets at halftime.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I thought I had
the over.
Yeah. I had 21-3. I'm like, dude, we are cashing all these tickets, dude. I'm like, this is incredible.
Yep.
And it all went downhill, man. And I could not believe it. It was the first time, I think, in the history of the conference championships where a home team was up by 10 or more points, or 10, maybe it's more than 10 points at a halftime and ended up losing. Home team, right? Road teams have done it before. Home team didn't do it. And the Kansas City Chiefs made history.
And Drums, you talked about it, and I see John made a point. Chiefs fans doesn't know what losing feels like. Well, guess what? Andy Reid does. He did it to us
Yep.
time and time again. So now you get the Andy Reid flavor. He lost 3 NFC Championship games at home here in Philadelphia, and then he's lost 2. Like, how do you lose that many home games? And you're favored in all. You're favored in every single one. So as good as he is, coming away with 1 Super Bowl in 9 championship games, right? That's what he's coaching.
It's not a lot, man. And with Patrick Mahomes, and that's the key, right? So we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo all the time, right? We see Jimmy a little bit different. We'll talk about San Fran Rams game in a few. But all Jimmy had to do was drop that ball in what looked like an ocean over the middle. And the 49ers win that Super Bowl against the Chiefs. And Reid has no Super Bowls with Mahomes. None. He would have had none. Like I don't even think the Chiefs deserve that 1 Super Bowl, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm biased because I bet the 49ers in the game, in the matchup. But I thought I had the right side. Wrong result. Andy Reid got away with one. But he's going to have to produce with Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to settle for AFC championships in Kansas City.
No, and the last point I'll make about this, and what's true is it's the Bengals defense. And we got to look at that when we think about this Super Bowl coming up. What does Matt Stafford do well, right? You've talked about it before. Matt Stafford is great against the blitz. What did the Bengals do against Mahomes? More often than not, you saw 3 rushers. Think about the last play of the game when they're 3rd and goal from the 9 or 10, and he gets sacked and fumbles 15 yards back. That was a 3-man rush with a spy. They're very good at playing back in a zone defense. I think that's something critical that we have to think about when we get into the Super Bowl, and talk of this Super Bowl matchup. The Bengals D, I think, gives the Rams some looks that they're probably not super comfortable with.
Yeah. Bengals D, a lot of warts, right? We know where they struggle, right?
Don't give the yards
per play allowed. Second half of the season, horrible cover in the middle of the field, right? But you got to give credit to the coordinator because they threw up some very confusing looks. They had Mahomes head spinning. He did not know what to do. That cannot be understated because, again, they play another high-powered offense in the Rams. And, both these quarterbacks, very good against the blitz. So, neither team, I think, is going to be able to get away with having the blitz. They're going to have to find pressure with the front four, but they're going to have to disguise coverages. That's another thing that the Rams do more than any other team in the NFL is disguising coverages. I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think you're going to see a lot of that, and I think, it's going to kind of maybe take away some of the big explosive plays that we might see. But also, I think you're going to see them give, these quarterbacks have to be cerebral enough, which I think they both are, to kind of take what the defense gives them, where it's an area where Mahomes just did not have the patience, in the AFC Championship.
Agreed.
Definitely. So let's get into some of our bets now. We'll get into our bets, and then we'll kind of talk about, what we have already in the account. And then, what we're kind of looking at going forward and why, like what advantages we think each team has. I'll kick things off with, one of the props, my favorite one that I dropped yesterday in the Sharp Discord, and that is Cooper Kupp. I got him over 104.5 yards. I think that Cooper Kupp is going to have a tremendous game because here's the thing with the defense, Dave. When we talk about this Cincinnati defense, we talked about it previously. They do very well against number 1 receivers, right? 6 DVOA going in the last week. Number 2 receivers, 27th, right? So usually it's the number 2 receiver that blows up. So that makes you think, oh, we got to target Beckham. What are we doing targeting Cooper Kupp? He's the number 1 receiver in the NFL, definitely the Rams' number 1 receiver. And I'm going to tell you why. And we talked about this over and over again, the middle of the field. Where Cooper Kupp operates is a little different than a lot of number 1 wide receivers, right? They're going to be able to hit those crossers. If the Bengals are only, rushing 3, rushing 4, the middle of the field is going to be open, and they're going to be able to find those zones. Cooper Kupp does that better than anyone. Not only the middle of the field with the crossers, but the deep middle of the field, right? Van Jefferson, anytime touchdown, might be a play as well. But I think Cooper Kupp's going to feast. When you look at his average since December, last 9 games, including the playoff games, right? Cooper Kupp's averaged 121.7 yards per game, right? He's gone over this number. I think he's gone over 108 yards 7 of the 9 games, right? So, Cooper Kupp is going to get volume here. He's going to get yards because of the way the Bengals are going to be forced to play defense in that zone. And I think he's going to have a huge game. I think, what do you have, like 180 yards against the Niners? Like, or against Tampa. He's been all over the place in the playoffs. And I think it's going to continue here in this matchup. And a lot of it has to do with, I think you're going to see Beckham getting a lot of attention because usually the Bengals can put the clamps on number one receivers. But the way the Rams play offense and the way Kupp operates as a number one receiver, I think it's going to be very advantageous against this Bengals defense.
I agree with you on everything you said about Kupp. Let's look at it. 11 for 142 last week, 9 for 183 the week before. And then he had a little off game in the first game against Arizona, but they didn't need him, right? That passing was, I think Stafford only threw it for about 25 times in that game. So he had 5 for 61 in that game. 17 times. He threw it 17 times, and Cooper Kupp got half the targets. So, they're going to need him this week. So when they need him, and I think you make a great point about number one, because Cooper Kupp isn't a number one. Now, you might say, what the hell are you talking about, Dave? He does not line up in the true number one spot. He is a slot receiver that they move outside at times, but most of his work comes through the slot, through rubs, through outside, through cuts, slants, all that good stuff in the middle, all that movement, and then they streak him down the field, right? So I love Cooper Kupp over yards, but I even love him more. And you're getting plus money over 8.5 receptions. He went over that twice in the last couple of games. Yep. And let's look at Tyreek Hill. Let's look at what the comparison is, because Tyreek plays very similar positions to Cooper Kupp. 7 receptions at half. Now, he got no targets in the second half, or 1 target, no catches. That's inexcusable. Don't get me wrong. But he had volume early. If Cooper Kupp has 7 at half, he's getting over 8.5. It's not going to be Tyreek Hill all over again. I think you're going to see a lot of what they did with Tyreek. Rams trying to do with Cooper. I think over 8.5 is really good. And I still like the over 100, 105. I think you got it at. I like both props.
Yeah, 104.5. Yeah.
If the Rams are going to compete and win, Cooper Kupp's got a chance to be MVP. I'm telling you right now, he's got a chance to be MVP. He's a good bet potentially for that. And if the Rams are down, Cooper Kupp's going to get – it's just going to be Cooper either way. So I agree with you.
What are his odds for the MVP? Was it like plus 600 or something like that? I think he's like plus 600. Maybe Lexi can look that up.
Yeah. Let her look that. Last time I thought I saw 800, but it could be down to 6 because he's just that good. He could have been
like these books, like depending on the liability they have. These prop markets are going to move rapidly during the week up and down. Like it's going to be pretty volatile, just because they're going to get smashed. Either way. So there's going to be a lot of movement. So shop around. That's the key, right? Shop around. Get the best numbers, but I like Cooper Kupp. John brings up a great point. OBJ opens up the second. You double up on Kupp. I think OBJ, I may take his over prop as well, to be honest with you. I like OBJ is going to have a big game here, but I don't think that you're going to be able to put the clamps on Kupp. I think he's going to be able to find the soft spots in the zone. And not only that, but like he is Stafford's blanket, man. Like he is he is comfort food to Matt Stafford, right? He's like pizza on a Friday night, man. He's just like, this is perfect. Give me some Cooper Kupp. Whenever he gets in trouble, it's Cooper Kupp time. And, I think we're going to see a lot of that in this game. I think we're going to see some offense. I really do. We are. And you have any props in the account yet? You have anything cooking in the account to take a side yet? Anything?
So first off with OBJ, but the one thing I like about him is over 23.5 longest reception. I think you're right that he opens up. I think we're going to see OBJ get something over the middle or down the sideline once Cooper Kupp gets cooking. So I like the over 23.5 for his longest reception. I got a couple of things. I have taken side. I have jumped on the 4 and 4.5 with the Bengals. I will stay there until I decide. I got him every week. I got to roll with him. I have 14-1 on the Rams to win the Super Bowl. A couple tickets open there, so I feel good either way. But that's not the way I want to go into this thing. I want to slam in them. I do think the Bengals are live dogs. I don't know if the number matters as much as it is that they can win this game, and that's my factor going in. So right now, I do like the 4, 4.5. It has fluctuated, like you said. I don't think it'll ever get under 3.5. I think that's.
No, you're going to be able to capture the 3, and that's kind of like the key point here.
Because you got to remember, LA market, right? LA market's going to be a more high volume market betting than the Cincinnati market. So we're going to see a lot more tickets come in on the Rams. No reason to move it much under 4. Probably going to stay around there. I don't see this getting up there. 5. I think 4 is going to be a real solid number by game time. Yeah, I could change by next week when we talk, but right now, opening tickets are definitely on the Bengals. Drums, I've always liked this one, and it did hit last week, and I think it's going to hit again. It's just, our boy, and he puts stuff up there, and that's Matt Stafford to throw an interception. There's just last week he was almost plus money to throw an interception. He did it for us early in the game in the end zone to Jimmy Ward. It's minus 150 now. So they kind of know Matt Stafford's tendencies. They know the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals have been forcing turnovers like crazy in these playoffs. This minus 150, I got to take it. I think they have 7 interceptions in the playoffs in 3 games. They're going to get one from Stafford. Stafford shows thrown 3. Tart is still kicking himself to this day, right?
Yeah, it's tough to, like that. It's hard. I feel bad. Now, listen, I had the Niners. I cashed the 3.5. I did not cash the money line. Again, thought the money line was money in the bank, up 17-7 there. But I hate it when like some people are like, oh, he dropped the like I hate it when that happens to players, man. Like that is like he makes that catch 99 out of 100 times, man. He's got to live with that the whole off season, and it's tough, man. Like it's
there was
crazy,
still a lot of game. There was still a lot of game. He should feel like that didn't change it, but it impacted it. And
I mean, they would have been in field goal range. Like they would have been definitely in field goal range if he gets.
Remember what Aikman said? Aikman said, "Oh, Stafford's shoulder must be hurt. He can usually rip it farther." Why not? I mean, that's a typical Stafford ball, right? He throws 1 or 2 of them a game. Yeah, I just think that interception value is just
Matt
large.
Stafford panicking, man. And I think that John brings up an excellent point. He's like, who do you trust more, Burrow or Stafford, right? And or Jason, I apologize, but so it's a great question, and I think that is a lot of people are like, hey, you know what? Like, Matt Stafford throws these hero balls. He throws these interceptions. He's good for him. Joe Burrow. We're hearing all the talk about the Rams defensive line. But I feel like if you're going to back the Rams in this game, you're expecting them to win by margin. Because I think if this game does get to the fourth quarter, you have to believe that Joe Burrow is going to be, if he doesn't pull it out at the end, he's going to be right there, right? And right there could mean, it could mean 7 points. It could mean 3 points, right? It could be in 4 points. But I think he's going to be right there. And I think that in that situation, in the fourth quarter, we've seen McVay panic. And we've seen, like Taylor might not be the most original head coach as far as play calling comes. Yeah. He does some things, running the ball in early downs. I want him to get away from in this game. Yeah. But McVay just panics, and you can see it, and Stafford panics. And I feel like, PFF ran Stafford's fourth quarter numbers, which have been very good this postseason. But the interceptions, and I just feel like when things start going bad, they're unable to kind of like right the ship. Now they were able to. They got the big play against, Tampa Bay and whatnot. But I think if this game is close in the fourth quarter, I definitely think it's Bengals money line live smash spot. Like I think, like if it's going to come down to the fourth quarter, I'm definitely going to put it on Joe Burr. And I think, I'll be betting the Bengals money line live if it's close.
I love the question, right? Matt Stafford or Joe Burrow. It's funny that you asked that. You're talking about 2 number 1 picks. So very fair. Number 1 drafted overall, and Stafford in the league a lot longer. They have the same amount of playoff wins. And who do I trust more late in the game with the ball? It is Burrow, but I will give Stafford this much right now. He won the game in Tampa. Let's give it to him. He made 2 critical throws to Cooper Kupp to win that game. He won the game last week, where I expected him to come up maybe a little bit small. So there is trust factor going up in Stafford for me. But game on the line, guy that's won a national championship, guy that's cold, winning games in Kansas City and Tennessee, beating the 1 and 2 seeds. I got Burrow I would trust late in the game. I'm with you, Drums. Late in the game, that's live action betting if it's close.
Yeah, I'm smashing that, dude. I'm smashing Bengals money line, Joe Burr. Like if it's close, like that's my only concern with backing the Bengals is it could get bad in a hurry. Like we've seen, like not trying to compare the Bengals to Arizona, but we've seen like the Rams, if they do have you down, it can get bad fast if that defensive line is cooking, right? Now, do I think it's going to cook like it cooked against Arizona? No, right? No. And there's a couple different reasons, right? I think the NFL does not want 13-3 again. right? And
No.
I'm not trying to tell you the Super Bowl's fixed, but I'm
Patriots,
trying to tell
Rams.
you that the refs might not be calling a ton of holding in this game. And I think the Bengals probably know that, right? So, I think that we've seen it in Super Bowls past. We talked about the Chiefs and the 49ers, in the fourth quarter during that Chiefs, comeback, Bosa was getting held all over the place. No calls, right? So, I don't think it's as easy as a handicap as, hey, Aaron Donald's going to eat, Rams are going to win. You know what I mean? But let's I got another small prop I put out when this one was just a half unit, and this is a great time to bring it up. Jason, great question about how much of a factor do you think the Bengals kicker, because he can kick 60-yard field goals all day. The other prop I have in the account is minus 135 Bengals to have the longest successful field goal.
Yes.
Right? Minus 135. So I got that at PointsBet. You can get that, that's really the key. I'm not into guessing how many times they're going to get stopped in the red zone, how many field goals they're going to have to kick. But I do think that we're talking about kicking distance. I'm getting McPherson, who he's just as cold-blooded as Joe Burrow, dude. That dude, nothing bothers him, man. He can kick a 50-yard field goal in a goddamn tornado. But so I think that's a great bet. Now, I only did a half unit because it's like, listen, kicker prop, whatever. Yeah. Size it accordingly, right? There's not a ton of data that goes into this except the fact that, like, this dude reminds me of, like, Tucker, Vinatieri, whoever, you can name them. Like, this stuff doesn't bother him. He's going to go out there and kick it through the uprights regardless of the situation. So,
I will say this.
I like the play.
With McPherson, and it's a good question. If that's a factor that you got to rely on 60-yard field goal, they're losing this game. But I will say what I like about you is the longest one and maybe more field goals than the Rams. The Bengals just haven't been good in the red zone. They got one conversion in the red zone last week against the Chiefs, and that was the chase on third down, the little fade, and then they converted the two. But, their other touchdown came from outside the red zone, the pass to Pirine. So they haven't really been converting, and if they have to – I don't know how much longer that can exist, right? They got to get better in the red zone this week. So I hope I don't see a lot of Evan McPherson. That's really what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
But if we do, it is an advantage that he can bomb it. Matt Gay can, though, too. Don't get it wrong. Even though last week, didn't he come up short from like 45? Like, I was stunned. Wasn't that him?
I have to dig into it a little bit, but I do think he's a little banged up. Like, I don't think he's 100% healthy, which is kind of part of why I did it. Like, I think he's dealing with some stuff. Now, listen, 2 weeks rest. They're going to have him on the massage table. They're going to be getting them right, hitting them with the gun and whatever they do to kickers nowadays. But he'll be ready to go. But I think that, I think that it's a solid play. Like, I think that there's going to be opportunity in his game where he's got to kick it deep, a long one. And I think that's going to happen kind of more with the Rams, especially when you look at how the Bengals play defense and, the Rams offense probably be able to get closer, into the red zone and that sort of thing.
So we got a question about Stafford's passing yards from Jen Mack. It's 280 and a half if you want to be exact. I do like the over in that. There's some feeling, I think you're with this, Drums, too. I think we're going to see points. I think we're going to see
points.
And I think we're going to see, and as you mentioned earlier, I think we're going to see the refs let them play. Last week, Kansas City sacked Joe Burrow once. Actually, Mahomes got sacked 4 times. The refs let him play last week. Now, it was a little surprising that game doesn't go over. Like you said, 31 points at half. I think the inability of the Chiefs to convert first downs in the second half killed your over. But, I think we're going to see yards. I would go over with Stafford if you're asking.
Yeah, I would too. I definitely think we're going to see yards. I think we're going to see offense in this game. It's exactly what the NFL wants. And again, not saying they're fixing the game or anything like that, but they do, the refs do have an impact on how the game is played from a tempo perspective, right? And, what they're kind of letting go and what they're not, listen, we've seen them, when Bill Belichick was mugging the Colts, they changed all the rules, right? So we know that stuff does happen, right? And, our, favorite moment of probably our lifetime, Dave, was when the Eagles beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And,
greatest
they
Super Bowl
didn't call holding at all, man. You could have, ripped a defensive line's helmet off, and they didn't care, dude. They were not calling holding. They were letting the team score. So I think we'll see something similar to that. Listen, it's Joe Burrow and it's Matt Stafford. Like, they want points. Nobody's here to see sacks. So that's what I think. Like, that's what I think.
I got one more.
Yeah,
I plugged in early. You asked me. I like the Mixon over the 25.5 receiving yards. We've seen him just be we've seen him be very involved in the passing game lately. I think he just missed it last week, but he had a 19-yard catch. Because last week I think he was at 31 receiving yards. I still think he got to like 29, something like that. Now we're sitting at 25.5 versus an aggressive front four, right? And they also like to blitz their linebackers here and there. They like to bring some corner pressure. What really solves that? A lot of times it's the screen game. I think we're going to get away from running on first down. I sure hope we do, Drums, because that was too transparent last week with Zach Taylor again and again. And you knew what he was doing. He was trying to keep the pass rush back. But too many 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 9s. You can't do that against Aaron Donald.
Can't live
I think
there.
we're going to see.
Can't live there.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Joe Mixon in the passing game. I love the over 25.5. I've already plugged that one in for a full unit. So
nice. Yeah, that's a good one. I definitely like that more than the yards. Like, I think the yards is something that I'm still kind of looking at. Like, do I want to go under yards on Mixon? Because I think there's 2 different game scripts to where that becomes valuable, right? It's, the game script of, hey, it's a shootout, and they're using Mixon more as a receiver. And the other one that we talked about before, Rams, lead with margin early, and the game kind of gets away from them, and then you're not running Joe Mixon at all, right? You're down 2-3 scores. You're not running Joe Mixon at all in that spot. So I think there's a couple ways where you go where Joe Mixon under is something I'm looking at. Haven't fired yet. I've got 2 in the account right now. We got Kupp and we got Cincinnati longest successful field goal, -135. Second one, just a half unit, Kupp full unit. But that's what we're looking at. Going to have many more in the account, next week that we're going to be able to talk about next Sunday for sure. Dave, interesting question for you. These 2 quarterbacks have taken – I love Matt Stafford, first off, right? And I love Joe Burrow. So this is not like a slight against either of them. But I think it is very interesting, the contrasting styles of, we have Matt Stafford, who it's been documented, was in Detroit forever, asked for a trade because he felt like that franchise could not, was never going to be good enough to get him to a Super Bowl, right? And then on the other side, you have, so after, I think this is Stafford's, is it his 13th year? I'm not sure. You can correct me, but 13th year in the league. Finally gets the Super Bowl because he kind of moved on, went to a different franchise that was kind of committed to winning, right? Joe Burrow skipped all that. He skipped the 12 years. He skipped all that. He goes to Cincinnati. They stink. They're 4-11-1 last year, and he takes them right to the Super Bowl, right? And that doesn't need to demand a trade, doesn't need to do anything. Just takes them right to the Super Bowl, carries them on their back. One of the worst defenses in the NFL. And I shouldn't say that because the defense did step up big last week, but statistically, a struggling defense, right? We'll do that. We'll put it that way, right? Carries them to the Super Bowl his second year as a starter. And it's just, to me, like, that's incredible. And when I look at these quarterbacks, Dave, like, I don't have any concern at all that this situation is too big for Joe Burrow.
Not at all.
None. Like,
and you
zero.
Shouldn't. And you shouldn't.
Zero. And it's
the kid
like,
is special.
There's been a lot made about how I was somebody who said, hey, you know what? They got to draft the offensive lineman.
I agree.
Like, they got to draft Sewell. They got to protect this guy before they, rip his leg to smithereens. Like, you have to protect Joe Burrow. And I was on the page. Forget about Chase. Get a receiver later.
Yep.
Blah, blah, blah. But that culture has now developed to where it's Chase and Burrow, and they kind of like run the show, and everybody feeds off it. And I think bringing him in has paid huge dividends that way because they've turned this into pretty much Joe Burrow's organization. And wow, has it paid off? Like, wow. I mean, it's, to get to this far in only your second year with this type of team around him is just, to me, is phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. It's amazing what Joe has done. But you're probably with me. I saw it from day one. This kid is as cool as can be. There's some traits you look at in a quarterback. You can have the arm talent, you can have the accuracy, you can have the pocket presence. But if you don't have that one trait, that winning trait, which really is leadership, right? If you don't have that, you can't, like the Jeff Georges, go going in and going quickly. You can't lead men that are older than you and younger than you and make them believe in what you're doing. Then you can't win in this league. And that's what Joe Burrow did from day one. These guys have rallied. I mean, you saw it after the Kansas City game. CJ Uzomah is on crutches and drags himself over to Joe and hugs him and says, I love him during his press conference. And he says, love you back. He's cool. He's calm. And he's had the heart and he's had the leadership from day one. He had it at LSU. And this stage won't be too big for him. It won't. Now we love Joe, but let's just say this. He's not perfect, though, either, right? He hasn't been perfect in these playoffs. Right. That's why they settle for field goals. That's why he's on, they've only scored 2 touchdowns on average in each game. I think Joe's going to need to be even a little bit better, Joe, for them to win this game. I think it has to be on him. They've gotten away with, kicking field goals, stopping, historic offenses, intercepting Tannehill 3 times, things that you don't normally see. This one's got to be on Joe, and I think he's ready. And with that said, I'll also say, I think T. Higgins is going to be a huge part of this game because we know that Ramsey is going to chase, right? He's going to go all around the field. I think Higgins, he's hit his over the last couple of weeks, 70.5. They didn't adjust it. I think Higgins over yards is going to be a real key because if you've watched this team, he trusts Higgins. Higgins is this guy with deep ends over the middle, and he trusts him to get there. And without the tight end, I think they're going to have – I think this is going to be a big game for Higgins.
Yeah, Higgins right now, 50-1 for Super Bowl MVP, right? Let's talk about Super Bowl MVP real quick. You like that segue right there. But I think it's an interesting question, right? So 50-1, T. Higgins, Von Miller. Who do you think has a better chance of becoming MVP? Von Miller has one under his belt when the Denver Broncos beat the Carolina Panthers. What are your thoughts on those two and just MVP in general?
Higgins, I would take a 51, dime. Let's not forget, if that Bills game ended one way, we would have seen Gabe Davis with an MVP in that game, right? It's possible a second receiver. We've seen Deion Branch. I think he got the MVP against the Eagles back in the day. Was it? It was Deion Branch, I think, when Brady didn't get
it was Branch. I think it was, yeah.
We saw Santonio Holmes, I think, get it because Roethlisberger never got a Super Bowl MVP. We've seen receivers get it, is my point.
Oh, yeah.
And if Chase is going to sit here and be, really I won't say he'll be bottled in, but, it's going to take some effort to get him his touches.
He might see a lot of Ramsey. Ramsey. Ramsey won't follow him around the whole game, but he's going to see a good chunk of Jalen Ramsey. Yeah.
Yeah, so Higgins is a good target. I think for Von Miller when – a defensive guy to win MVP in a game we expect to be a shootout. I'm not going to touch any defensive guys.
Yeah, it's got to be for Von Miller. It's got to be, they wreak havoc, right?
3.5 sacks.
It needs to be. Yeah, it's got to be a ton of sacks. It's got to be causing turnovers. Strip sacks, that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you what, I do think when we look at the two, if you think that's the game script, right? If you're like, hey, the Rams are going to wreck this Bengals offensive line, and they're going to end up winning the Super Bowl, and Stafford's going to throw 2 interceptions because sometimes Stafford does that, right? And you think that there's space for a defensive lineman for the Rams to win the MVP. Aaron Donald, 12-1. Von Miller, 50-1. I think Von Miller's the side there. I'm not going to lie to you. I do have a little bit on Von Miller. Just a splash I put on there. I wrote it up for Yahoo. I think that if, here's the thing. We've seen Joe Burrow very elusive in the pocket already, right? He can get out of the pocket if he has to, right? Make the first guy miss. It could be a situation where Aaron Donald's getting the pressure and Von Miller's cleaning up the sacks, right? Yeah. And, the voters aren't going to give you the hardware on pressures. They don't care how many pressures you have for Super Bowl MVP. It's going to be the guy who gets the sacks. It's going to be the guy who gets the strip sacks, So I just think if you're asking me, who has a better shot at MVP, Donald or Miller, it's Donald. That's why he's 12-1. But I think there's more value probably. If I were to bet it, I would bet Miller at 50-1 first, because if you're going to bet somebody at 12-1, I don't know. Jamar Chase is 16-1. That's probably a better play.
Oh, I take that. Yeah, no,
you could get Jamar Chase could have 250 yards in this game. So, Donald at that number, I think is no go for me.
It has to be stats, and you said it. And it's tough for Donald to create stats sometimes. We know he creates pressure. We know he creates havoc. but sometimes the stats don't show up in the books. So it's very hard for me to see a defensive tackle get that. I would not put money on Aaron Donald. I will tell you, people get it on reputation more than not. Eli Manning got 2 of them for no reason. So, it can happen, right? It can happen.
Reason.
No,
I thought he played well in the other one, didn't he?
Like
the one where they beat
Plax.
When they beat the undefeated Patriots, that was the defense, but
that
was a lot of defense. Now he made clutch throws, but I thought the other one they scored some points. I thought he did all right in that one. But I like Eli, man. I'm always good
I do, and hey,
he's always been good to our Eagles, right?
Yeah, there's a point from John Trey here, and I want to just harp on this. You feel bad for AJ Green. I do too, not because he left this team, but because he has to play with Kyler Murray, who I think stinks. So, good luck, AJ. I feel bad for you out there.
Yeah. Well, he thought, right, he was trying to be Stafford. He was trying to do the Stafford thing, and he ended up, sitting there getting smoked by the Rams. But let's talk about, obviously, the quarterback, Stafford minus, plus 135, Burrow plus 225. If you like the Bengals, do you just bet Burrow for MVP at 225 instead of the money line? I don't know. I think that there's still, it's hard because, let's say Chase goes nuts and has 200 yards, right?
Yeah.
Burrow's probably going to have 350. So, are they really going to give it to Chase? I don't know, man. I think it's tough. I probably would just
2 touchdowns with 200 yards. I almost think I think Chase is tough to bet for MVP just because of the Ramsey factor. I think it's going to be tough. So I do go Burrow, and I probably sprinkle a little on Higgins, but I think it's all Burrow or nothing for the Bengals. I really do. So don't go too crazy after Burrow if you're a Bengals fan. He's going to get it. He's the name. And it's funny. We talked about this with Adam Rosenberg last week. He was 10-1 to win the Super Bowl MVP last week. If you could have got a good number on him, if you thought they were beating the Chiefs last week.
No, of course. Yeah. Well, you also do, double money line parlay and kind of roll it over.
Yeah.
But listen, let's talk about the receivers, right? Rams receivers. Let's talk about them real quick before we wrap this up. We talked about Kupp. We talked about Beckham earlier and how, Kupp's going to operate, in the middle of the field. I like Kupp to have a huge game. I think he's going to have the better game. Odell Beckham 25-1 for MVP. Kupp 6-1, right? Very, very, I think short odds for a wide receiver. We're talking about Cooper Kupp. I almost, even though I'm taking Kupp's overs, I wouldn't bet him at 6-1 to win MVP. I would probably, again, I think if Kupp has a monster game, Stafford's probably going to have a monster game as well, and they're probably going to give it to the quarterback, unless it's he's 180 yards, 200 yards, that sort of thing, which is possible. I mean, we've seen Kupp do that against Tampa. But I think 6-1 is a little short for Kupp. I think there's probably more value on Beckham at 25-1.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, 6-1 is crazy. It's like when we talk about betting golf tournaments, right? Take a guy 6 or 7-1 when there's 150 players. You're taking a wide receiver where there's just so many. If he's 12-1, yeah, good value. 6-1 is not good value. He still may get it. It'll really depend on how many times they flash up and show Matt Stafford's wife in the stands, because then you'll know, if it's going to go to Stafford or not. Because if they're really focused on that family during the game, doing game bets on Stafford, it's going to be one of those, lifetime achievement awards. I think Stafford's the play, and I would also say Beckham on the backside. I agree. I would love to take Kupp. Don't get me wrong. I think his numbers are going to be incredible. I think he's going to have a great game. But I'm with you. 6-1 is just not a good number on wide receiver. And we talked about earlier, Jen, a handful of receivers have won, but they haven't been the names you thought that would have won going into a Super Bowl. Or Randy Moss, no.
Right. Yeah, and that kind of speaks to T. Higgins, right? You kind of get that T. Higgins under there. I think Van Jefferson's probably a stretch. What's he, like $1 trillion to 1? I don't even know if I can find my guy. I'll tell you what, my guy McPherson 100 to 1. What's up?
Yeah. Oh, dude. I would, if he buries 5 and he hits the last one, it might be worth a little sprinkle.
18-17 Bengals, 6 field goals out of McPherson, 70-yarder to win the Super Bowl. Bang.
How cool is he? He just walks up, he says, "Game over." He tells the side, "I got this." He's just walking around like,
dude, he ain't messing around, man.
Would they draft him? Didn't they draft him in the 3rd or 4th round too? It was something crazy. You're like, they're drafting a kicker. I take
He's
that
ice
too.
cold, man. He
Yeah.
is ice cold. I'm telling you, dude. He's gonna have an impact on this game. I feel like 100 to 1 MVP. I mean, you're better off just lighting your money on fire, probably. But
Yeah. Or send it to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet that at all. But I mean, we'll talk more about that next week. Like I said, I got a tiny play on Von Miller, but really nothing substantial. And I think that it's probably going to be the quarterback. Like if I were to kind of look at it now, like I think that it's not a bad idea to supplement the QB MVP with if you're going to play the money line on either side, right? I know a lot of people are taking the Rams money line because they don't like the number and they're just eating the 180 or whatever it is right now. If you're going to do that, might as well even it out with some Stafford MVP stuff, right? And that way you can kind of help the price balance that out a little bit. So, you're not just betting into, a 180 money line or something like that. But listen, up on 45 minutes, man, we got to roll. Before we get out of here, Dave, any thoughts we didn't touch on, or we're going to be back next week with the full card and all the action for Super Bowl Sunday?
We'll get back next week for the full card. And I'm telling you, the early ones that I'm touching obviously are, a couple Cooper Kupp props. I'm with drums on the yards. I also like the, receptions. I like mixing over the 25.5. Listen, he's had 27, 51, and 28 in 3 games so far receiving. He's exceeded that total in every game so far. What says he can't do it one more time? Let's get the, not the trifecta, the quadfecta, whatever they call it, the superfecta. Superfecta.
There you go.
That's the horse jack. And then
listen, whatever you want to call it, just give us the money. Just give us the money.
And then look at OBJ over the 23.5 longest reception. So those are the kind of things I'm looking at early. I'll dial in my MVPs, and we'll definitely talk a little more next week about novelty props because I'm big into some of these. Jen talked about it. If they got something about Stafford's wife up there, I'm taking the over. I don't care if it's 12, 13, 14. He's getting on TV, baby. And we'll get into that next week.
Gatorade color, all that good stuff, right?
I'm in.
Gatorade color, we'll hit that up. Yeah, I gotta look and see what the Rams didn't win. Yeah, they didn't win when they went last time, so we have no idea what kind of Gatorade they had. But
I gotta imagine it's got to be yellow. It's got to fit like McVay. You can't get him all like
could be blue.
Or blue.
Could be blue. He does seem like the kind of guy that would match it. But what's he gonna do? Does he match it with his hair? Does he go orange?
Right? Yeah, but not red. He's not going red.
Maybe he matches it with his hair. Who knows with that?
Yeah.
Dude. But listen, we'll have all that fun stuff next week. We appreciate everybody joining us. Good luck this week. Punch everything in. We will be back next week. We'll have the full card, all the props. We want to hear your props as well. But make sure you download the Sharp app. Get in the Discord. We'll be back. Super Bowl. It'll be Super Bowl Saturday for us, but we'll be getting ready for Super Bowl Sunday. We'll see you then.